Understand that there are four ways this can go for the Giants' future at quarterback. Route number one is they just suck, they continue losing, and they take one of the top two quarterbacks in the draft. Maybe it's Shedeur Sanders, maybe it's Cam Ward, and bada boom, bada bang, we're all watching that guy for the next couple of years hoping he's great. Option number two is they win a couple of games, and now they're stuck in this spot where they almost have to talk themselves into drafting said young quarterback. Option number three, we call this the loogie plan, and that is Tommy DeVito is so freaking awesome that he's the guy, period, stop. And then you have option four, Tiki, which is you win a few games, Tommy's not the answer, you're not going to be in love with any of the quarterbacks in the draft, nor the ability to trade up, and you're going to have to not find a stopgap, I don't like that, but you want to find the veteran, maybe the youngish veteran, who you can sell to your fan base and be the future of the team. We call it the wheel of the young veteran quarterback. And on this fine Thursday, let's play that game. And you, Tiki Barber, the football mind that you have, give me the guy. First of all, let's spin the wheel of the veteran quarterback. Does that sound like Wheel of Fortune or not really?
It kind of does. I like that. I like that sound effect, Tommy. I'll get that to Tommy, not to Evan. But, you know,
all Tommy.
Right. There's a couple of options that are out there. We've talked about one, obviously, and Sam Darnold, who's doing such a good job with the Minnesota Vikings. But the one who's actually more interesting to me is Trevor Lawrence. Now, the only way this works is if the Jacksonville Jaguars decide we're moving on from Doug Peterson, we're going to change everything, we're going to strip everything down, and you know that as the worst team in the league, because currently they hold the number one overall draft pick, they might want to reset at quarterback. And even if they don't, I think whoever is running, and I think it's going to be Joe Shane and Dabes, the guys that are running the New York Giants need to consider that as an option. Figure out the package it's going to take and trade for Trevor Lawrence. Now, people will question, well, Trevor hasn't had success. He had the terrible first year, and it was bad the second year, and the turnovers and everything else. But he's also only 26 years old, and he's got all of the talent that you want. The challenge for him is he hasn't had consistency in his coaching staff, and his coordinator over the last couple of years, Press Taylor, and him never feel like they've been on the same page. And if the issue is that you're worried about the turnovers, what was Dave's best accomplishment with Daniel Jones
Cutting him
2
down.
years ago?
Cutting him down.
He led the league in turnover percentage. And so I think this is an interesting scenario and an option, because if you are the Giants, I'm talking about the organization, John Mara, the Tisches, making the decision on a head coach, how many years are you going to give them to draft a quarterback and then hope that he develops? So this now, what will be 4 years next year, turns into 4, 5, 6, 7. You're going to give him 8 years to try to figure it out? And if you get Trevor Lawrence for Daves and Shane, it gives him a chance to find success quicker.
Oh, no doubt.
Right?
And they need that success quicker, like you said.
They need success. They can't keep throwing losing records on their resumes. Look what it did to Joe Douglas. Think about all of the successful draft picks and trades and everything that Joe Douglas has done. I mean, it'll be evaluated, I think, much more critically as the weeks and months go on. But think about how good he was at doing his job in theory. Yet he had no wins, right? We talked about it yesterday. He's 30 wins. It doesn't work over a 6-year period of time. And Daves and Shane are getting in that little window where you got to start winning football games. Well, right? You got to start having winning seasons. You can't just be, well, next year we'll get it right. Because that's when it's time to move on.
Well, it's why a guy like Trevor Lawrence, if he becomes available, and I know there are complications, he just signed that contract, the cap hit, the package you'd have to give back, but you nailed it on the age thing. He's 25 years old. He's still incredibly young, and if you're Brian Daboll and Joe Shane, I don't think you're afforded that much time. If you draft a young quarterback, whether it is a top-line guy like Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, or you're reaching a little bit more, you better win right away. Because if you don't win right away, I don't think ownership in this fan base is going to have a lot of patience. So that youngish veteran, and certainly Lawrence fits that because he's very young. I mean, 25 years old for a guy that's been in the league for 4 years almost feels weird. It almost feels like the NBA. Like it's odd to be that young and that experienced. That, without a shadow of a doubt, gives you a quicker and better chance to win right now, as opposed to hitching your wagon to a young quarterback who goes through all of those young quarterback mistakes. I'm not sure Daboll and Shane survive a bad rookie season from whomever they draft.
I agree, and that's my challenge. And I think part of this is because, not that I'm biased positively for Dave and Shane, but I do like them individually, and I want to see them be successful. And the last thing I want is for a young quarterback to come in and you miss. Right? We just don't know with these young quarterbacks. We can say all we want about, well, I saw this guy do this, and his combine and his underwear was amazing, and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And let me wax poetically as much as I want to about how great this guy is going to be. You just never know with young quarterbacks coming into the NFL. Some of them hit it. A lot of them simply do not. And so if I'm Daves and I'm Shane, I need to find something that's a lot more proven. And Trevor Lawrence is proven to an extent.
Now, do you mind if I spin the wheel of veteran quarterbacks? Because
Please do so.
Okay, I'm going to spin the wheel right now. Hold on.
On Fat Sajak.
I'm going to go to the guy that you warned me about. I'm going to go to the guy that you believed in. I think Sam Darnold is the guy.
Oh.
Because a couple of things about Sam I am. First of all, he's young, too. He's 27 years old. Right? The other thing he sort of has over Trevor Lawrence is that the package to get Trevor Lawrence, in all likelihood, is going to be expensive.
Right. It's going to be a first in there somewhere.
No question. If the Jaguars get the number 1 overall pick and they decide to kind of reset the quarterback clock by drafting Shadur Sanders, by trading Trevor Lawrence, they're going to do it for a bag. And it's going to be a big bag. And look, if Lawrence hits and he's the franchise quarterback, he's worth every penny, no question about it. Sam Darnold is going to cost you money. That's it.
Yeah,
he's
true.
A free agent at the end of the season.
True.
So that's one little thing that adds to the positivity of him.
But the reason I say Trevor over Sam or whoever else we want to talk about, because there's others on this list as well, is that I think Trevor is better. He just hasn't been in the right kind of situation down there in Jacksonville. And we know the early stuff with Urban Meyer, but I think even with Doug, it's been them trying to find and feel each other out for 2 years, and it hasn't clicked.
Yeah.
And so,
but I think that's the same with Sam. Sam hasn't. He's been all over the place. Think about all the different systems he's had, different coaches, different organizations. It's finally clicking
don't you
now.
Feel like he's limited? Like there's a limit to what he actually, like what his ceiling is. And we're talking ceilings, but at this point we just want competent quarterbacks. But you know what I mean? If you want to look at ceilings,
right?
Age and longevity and pedigree, all those things, Trevor's is greater, but the success is obviously already shown for Sam Darnold with Minnesota this year. And so he's had the winning, which I think is valuable, even if it's discounted sometimes because of the circumstances that he's in.
Well, a couple of things. You mentioned Daboll cutting down the turnovers of Daniel Jones, also cutting down the turnovers of Josh Allen when he worked with him as offensive coordinator. Don't you think the same can be said with Sam Darnold? I think that's been Sam's issue, especially over the last 6 or 7 weeks after a great start. They have won 3 in a row. They've played well. Is Sam turning the ball over? But Kevin O'Connell's gotten the best out of Sam.
No doubt.
And I think Brian Daboll would probably be able to do the same and get a lot out of him. And he's certainly a better option than what we've seen a quarterback the last 3 years. He's not going to cost you the return that Trevor Lawrence is going to cost.
True.
And the other thing I like about Sam, believe it or not, I like the fact that he failed here. Because I think sometimes failing in New York City is actually a better experience than never having an experience in New York City.
Yeah, but it could also make you not want to come back to New York City. And so the difference for Sam is that Sam, as a free agent, is going to have his choice where he wants to go. Now, the Minnesota Vikings could just, I can't see how they wrap him up because they're going to have to give him a raise on the $10 million he's making.
They're
already.
not. I don't think they are, Teague. I think he's gone.
He has to be gone. That's my point. Like they're not going to give him, hey, all right, Sam, we're going to pay you $20 million while you have a first-round quarterback that you drafted last year in J.J. McCarthy. So he's free. But that means he can go wherever he wants.
Right.
There's going to be other teams that are going to say, hey, Sam, look, guess what? We're really starting over. We want you to come lead this thing. I think with trading for Trevor, he doesn't have a choice. You know what I mean? Sam has a choice at the end of the season.
That is true. But we have no idea how Trevor Lawrence would respond to the media, to the fans, to the pressures
of
New York.
Well, I've done many Jacksonville games and had many conversations with him. He is chill and easy. Now maybe it wouldn't like fly in New York. People would be annoyed by it,
right?
But there's a lot of snowboards that go down to Florida and they get used to that Florida chill. I mean, they drive slow. It takes you 35 minutes to go 12 miles down here.
Oh, I'm aware.
I'm just telling you.
Trust me.
It's a pain in the ass.
It's the worst, actually.
It is so bad. I'm like, can you just go around this dude? He's just turning.
Exactly. Right? So when he's sitting in a taxi cab for the first time and everybody's zooming around each other, Trevor Lawrence may be like, what the hell have I gotten myself into?
Yeah,
I think with Sam, keep this in mind. He failed, not all his fault, as I know firsthand.
Right.
He failed in New York with the pressures of being Broadway Joe Part 2. You come to the other side. You come to the Giants with the experience of being in the league as long as he's been in the league. I don't know if Sam Darnold ducks from that challenge. Now, for Jet fans who suggest bringing Sam back, yeah, I could see Sam saying, I'm never going back there. I don't want to deal with that organization again. Yeah. But as we know, as you certainly know, and I know, the Giants aren't the Jets. They're very different. Right. So I don't know if Sam would actually be like, oh, I can't come back to New York. That place is terrible. Because this is a different part of New York. And I still think, especially in Minnesota where he's had success this year, he's not the future. No. When you invest the first-round pick on J.J. McCarthy and then you've got to decide on a long-term contract for Sam at the end of the year, they're not going to give him a long-term contract. This would be his chance, especially with a roster that is developing a number one receiver, maybe not quite Justin Jefferson, but a pretty good one that you guys have all fallen in love with in Malik Neighbors. It's not the worst spot, and I think he would certainly offer them a pretty decent chance to win for the next couple of years.
And I agree with you. And, you know, Minnesota's in a tough spot. I don't feel for him, but, like, there's a chance, because that's not my team, but there's a chance. You know, Sam takes them to the postseason. Who knows what they do? Maybe they win a game. Whatever, right? And then next year, it's like they're starting over with a rookie quarterback. Right. So they're not in an ideal situation. Now, maybe J.J. McCarthy is just better than everybody thinks and what we, predicted when he was drafted last year. I know some people are high on him. Wasn't Connor high on him yesterday when we talked to Connor Hughes? But yeah. I feel like, Minnesota's in a tough spot, but it gives Sam all the power. He's done exactly what he's needed to do in his walk year to go play wherever he wants. But that's the challenge for the New York Giants now, is that you got a quarterback who's done it, who can walk and go anywhere he wants. There's going to at least be 5 teams. How many is it every year? 5 or 6 teams that are desperate for a quarterback. Some want, the rookie. Others, they want a veteran to come in and stabilize whatever they believe, they're a player away from achieving. And so I think Sam has options, whereas Trevor Lawrence, if you get traded to New York, you got to come to New York, dude. And Dave's, it would give him a new lease on a short leash, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. Fat Say Jack, would you like to spin the wheel?
Yeah, let's spin the wheel.
All right, Fat. It's the wheel of veteran quarterbacks. Who you got, Fat?
I love this wheel, man.
I do love the wheel. For me, who you got, Fat, is very funny. I'm actually going to do an Evan. I'm going to give you 2 guys because you haven't mentioned either one. Both free agents, both low cost. One, how do you guys not mention, because there's Evan's guy, Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields would provide that running threat that Dable likes. And the other, sometimes when you go away for a year, you have a little shine back on you. Jimmy Garoppolo with the Rams as a free agent at the end of the year.
God, I forgot about Jimmy.
Here's the problem with your 2 guys. And when I suggested Justin Fields a year ago, it was in a very different situation. This situation would be, we don't love any of the quarterbacks in the draft, so we want to bring a guy in and try to win now, and maybe this guy's our future. Yeah. I don't have enough confidence in Justin Fields being that guy. I wanted to bring him in last year to compete with Daniel Jones. Okay. And I thought it would have been a nice competition, a fair competition, and I don't know who would have won. Maybe Fields would have won, maybe Jones would have won. I have no idea. If you bring Justin Fields in now after not loving the quarterback draft or drafting a quarterback in the 3rd or 4th round, Jordan Travis style, really, where you're taking a flyer, you're basically relying on Justin Fields to win games for you. And while Mike Tomlin can pull that off, I'm not sure Brian Daboll can pull that off.
So I agree with you. And Fat Sajak just has this thought. Fat Sajak got to be Fat Sajak for a reason. He likes his cake and eating it too. Fat Sajak is operating in reality here. And reality tells me, unless the name is Trevor Lawrence, and the only other name I think I'd throw out there is Kirk Cousins, I think they will sign a guy and draft a guy, but if they don't love the guy, he could sit for a year. So I think those 2 guys I give that opportunity as the Sam Darnold.
But wait a second, because Tiki, I brought this up to you the other day, and I think this is the kind of the tough spot the Giants are in. So I laid out 4 scenarios because those are the scenarios we're going to face. Yes. Number 1, they suck. They have a top 2 pick. Great. Let's decide between Shadur Sanders and Cam Ward, and let's go. And that may happen. We'll see what the Giants do over the final 7 weeks of the season. Option number 2 is they win a few games. I think there's some optimism around Tommy DeVito and the way he plays. And
he doesn't turn the ball over a lot.
He doesn't.
They might.
And they put themselves in a spot in which they don't love the quarterbacks. And I asked Tiki this the other day. Don't you think Joe Shane and Brian Dable are almost forced to take a quarterback no matter what? And you even said it. Well, that would be a bad decision. Yeah, you can't force yourself to take a quarterback if you don't love them.
Because you're drafting for need as opposed, and Sean, you said this many times, you're drafting for need.
Yes.
In your desperation instead of drafting the best player at that position. And especially if you don't really love a quarterback, you miss at the franchise guy. You miss, and it's bad. And people lose their jobs. But that's what it comes down to.
But that's why I'm looking for more than a Jacoby Brissett here. Because, Tiki, like what happened with you guys, I don't believe that this regime, if they draft a rookie, if they get off to the kind of start Kurt Warner did that year with the Giants, that they would then bench that guy. No, I think they'd ride that out and go, we're having success, let's try to make the playoffs. And I think a Fields and a Garoppolo will give you that opportunity.
Yeah, and by the way, that's what Pat Mahomes went through. Pat Mahomes, we feel like, he started right away and he was amazing. No, he sat all year. He started one game at the end of the season because they were already in the postseason. They were perpetually winning double-digit games and getting to the postseason. So Alex Smith took a backseat for a game so he could get a full game experience. And then he sat down. They did whatever they did in the postseason, and the Patrick Mahomes era was born the year later. That's the ideal way to get a young, good quarterback, that experience and learning and the process and everything you want. And it's worked perfectly. That's why Andy Reid is also one of the great coaches that we talk about in the NFL.
Tommy Lugauer, spin the wheel of veteran quarterbacks.
Here we go. All right.
Go ahead.
Tommy DeVito is my starting quarterback for the next 10 years. I bring in a veteran backup, Ben DiNucci. So I have DeVito, Ben DiNucci as my 2 quarterbacks for the next 10 years.
So you're refusing to play the game. You are that in love with Tommy DeVito, that loyal to Tommy DeVito.
No, I've been working nights.
That you will not take any veteran quarterback?
Loyal supporter. I believe in Tommy DeVito. I'm bringing in a veteran, Ben DiNucci, to be his backup, to watch his back, that type of thing. They'll just run Hoboken for the next 10 years. Yeah, I got DeVito as the starting quarterback the next 10 years with DiNucci as the backup.
Your call's coming up. There are different ways this Giant team may go during the offseason. They may get lucky enough, or maybe unlucky enough, depending on your perspective, to suck that badly where they're picking 1 or 2, and then fine. Let's take one of the top 2 guys who are graded by everyone as a first-round pick. Then they may play themselves out of taking a top quarterback, and then they may have to go get a veteran. Where would you go? 888-808-1019. We'll get to a little baseball later on as well, including the under-the-radar comment Hal Steinbrenner made yesterday that may annoy some Yankee fans. Daniel Jones will meet the media for the first time. We'll hear what he has to say and also kind of guess what should he say. Plus, I'm not even kidding, the return of a New York sports icon. There is a big-time New York sports athlete who had retired, who is literally trying to come back. We will talk about it coming up a little bit later on live from the Town Fair Tire Studios, powered by Town Fair Tire.